The American dream used to feel solid, like something you could grab with both hands. Today, it feels like sand slipping through your fingers. Groceries cost more, rent feels impossible. Every politician has a new excuse: inflation, supply chain, global instability. But what if the truth is bigger? What if the American and European economies aren't failing on their own? What if they're being taken apart piece by piece, not by accident, but by design? In this video, I'm connecting dots that are usually kept far apart: wars, debt, political chaos, different headlines, but the same story running underneath. What if World War III has already started, and the battlefield isn't where you expect? Not the Middle East, not Europe alone, but right here, inside America, Europe, and Latin America. A war fought with debt, drones, and narratives instead of tanks. And to understand that, you need to look at two countries that rarely show up in American conversations: Venezuela and Poland. The 38 trillion time bomb. The United States is sitting on $38 trillion in debt. The government pays about $1.5 trillion a year just in interest. That's like making minimum credit card payments on a card you can never pay off. Everyone knows we can't repay it. Everyone knows we aren't even trying. But here's the part nobody likes to say out loud. The corporations that made billions from this system, tech giants, defense contractors, aren't sticking around to fix anything. They moved profits offshore. They moved factories overseas. And when the bill comes due, they won't be here to help. The Ukraine playbook. Why did the US suddenly get obsessed with Venezuela? Why does Poland sound like the next country marching toward conflict? A theory you'll hear more and more online points to something people call the Ukraine playbook. It's simple in concept, messy in execution. Step 1, install a friendly leader. Step 2, push them toward confrontation with a rival. Step 3, while the country burns, outside corporations scoop up land, minerals, and influence. Ukrainians paid the price. Defense companies made billions, and the American taxpayer footed the bill. Even if you disagree with the theory, the pattern is worth thinking about because the incentives are real. How NATO turns European tax money into American profit. Countries like Estonia are required to spend 2% of GDP on defense. But most of that money has to be spent on American-made weapons. Meanwhile, Europe's middle class is squeezed. Hospitals struggle. Public wages stall. And American workers? They're paying for NATO and for the weapons sent to Ukraine. In theory, it's about security. In practice, it looks suspiciously like a one-way money pipeline. The Venezuela playbook. Now look south. Suddenly, there's talk of Venezuelan drug threats. U.S. warships move into the region. A political figure from Venezuela wins a Global Peace Award and immediately calls for foreign intervention, something critics say feels too coordinated to ignore. Is this proof of regime change? No one can say with certainty, but the timing raises questions. Because Venezuela isn't about ideology. It's about oil, it's about minerals, it's about access. And if this theory holds, Venezuela is just the appetizer. Latin America is the main course. When an empire runs out of places to expand, think about the global map. Africa is aligning with China and India. The Middle East is increasingly pushing out foreign influence. Southeast Asia made its pivot decades ago. If the old East India Company style of power projection doesn't work abroad, the next frontier becomes home. Europe and Latin America become the sites of conflict. And after that, the American middle class. Not because of military invasion, because of financial extraction. The elite exit plan. Here's the part that hits hardest. The billionaires who own half the global economy, many of them American, are building lifeboats. Bezos and Musk are building rockets. Zuckerberg is building bunkers. Silicon Valley buys land in New Zealand like it's the last safe corner of the map. They act like people preparing for collapse, not preventing it. And that raises the uncomfortable possibility that they're not planning to save the system, only themselves. Trump, the outsider who isn't. One of the most controversial theories circulating online suggests that Trump, despite the outsider branding, operates deep inside the same ecosystem. Look at the people he pardoned, figures linked to crypto scandals, massive financial networks, and global capital flows. Whether you believe he's the hero or the villain, the fact remains, he protected the financial elite long before he protected the American middle class. His tariff war with China? Chinese industries actually saw profits jump. American consumers paid more. The dollar weakened. Housing costs surged. Even people who supported him felt the fallout. The rise of the police state. As the economy tightens, unrest becomes more likely, and the government knows it. Detentions, deportations, speech crackdowns, these are tools that expand during instability. In the UK, national ID programs. In the US, rising use of federal agencies against dissidents. In Europe, economic policies that feel imposed, not chosen. When institutions prepare for crisis, they often prepare for control, not relief. So where does this leave us? If this theory is right, if these patterns are connected, then the next decade becomes a struggle between ordinary people and a global economic system that no longer needs a thriving middle class. And that leads to the real question. In a world of de-dollarization, deglobalization, and rising control, how do normal people break free from this cycle? How do we protect ourselves when corporations and governments seem aligned against the public?